welcome to GridVision. We're excited to be here this lovely Monday night for some Monday night spent in a pack for the GridVision Superspeedways series. Of course, my name is Brian Britt. I'm going to have, of course, I do believe Brayton Laster, I should say, joining us a little bit later. We'll see if he shows up, and it looks like he is here. Brayton, how are you doing tonight, my friend?
I am fantastic, and let me tell you, I'm on the edge of my seat. I love super speedway racing. I love GridVision, and we got 80 action-packed laps of next generation here tonight for the viewers at home. That
we do. Atlanta Motor Speedway, or Atlanta Super Speedway, as I've kind of dub it here. But before we get too far into the details, let's take a quick look at the, of course, schedule for the remainder of the week. And taking a look at that, of course, I do believe we're going to have some Tuesday Champion Power Equipment Truck Series action tomorrow night. Definitely looking forward to that one. They're going to be at Homestead Miami Speedway. So, of course, last week I do believe they were at another mile and a half. We're going to be heading to yet another mile and a half this week. This is one of the most unique mile and a half, though. Very difficult. A driver's track, I'd say, if you were ever to call it a mile and a half a driver's track, I think this would be it. 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Of course, Thursday, we're going to be going to the Last Great Coliseum Bristol Motor Speedway, 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time in the SSRL Truck Series. For Saturday, we're going to be doing the Turkey Trot around the Glen. Of course, that's going to be somewhat of a drinking-themed race there, so looking forward to that one for sure. 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Saturday. Of course, Sunday, we're going to be at North Wilkesboro. We've been on a little bit of a run of some short track action with the RGR Kalu Glass Cup Xfinity Series. I'm going to continue that at North Wilkesboro. We're going to see some beating and some banging, probably some guys becoming enemies that night, but I'm definitely looking forward to it. But now we get into, of course, the meat and potatoes of tonight's race. Looking at the track temp right now, 131 degrees Fahrenheit. You could cook an egg on this racetrack right now. You could scramble some if you'd like. Anybody hungry? I sure don't want to eat off this track, but still, this is going to be an entertaining one. Nonetheless, 80 laps, as you had mentioned. Looking at the points, Sean Boundy at the top of the board by quite a wide margin, 287 points. He is, of course, I do believe, almost over 40 points over Timothy Babcock, who's in second place. James South, of course, sits in third. Chad McGinley, he's in fourth. Faison Sheik in fifth place, I should say. Mark McFadden in sixth. Bobby Mantle, seventh. Jonathan Platt, eighth. Craig Ganzak, ninth, and Randy Post rounds out the top 10 right now in the point standings. So definitely excited to see how the rest of this plays out as we go on throughout the rest of the season, but that's how it is standing now. This is an interesting track combo. The next gens at this mile and a half super speedway, I think it's not going to be so simple. I think tire wear might be a factor here tonight.
Yeah, you think of super speedway racing, you think of Daytona and Talladega, 31 and 33 degrees banking, but it is almost flat out all out here at Atlanta. You have 28 degrees, so not quite as much as Daytona or Talladega, but still easy to go 3 wide through the corner with your foot on the gas. We just mentioned tire wear, a big deal here. And also giving room to the guys next to you. This track is only about 45 feet wide. For reference, Daytona, at which you consider most people do a smaller super speedway, not as wide, is about 60 or 70 feet wide. So only a fraction of the room here, especially you're going to see them on that tri-oval. They're going to get tight coming off of turn 4 and kind of merge up, and you might see a lot of action there, or you might see a lot of moves made there too. So drivers really taking advantage of what they got tonight, this tight action-packed super speedway.
Yeah, definitely going to be tight. I think that's the name of the game. It's going to be not a lot of room to work with. Of course, the front stretch, you can go down on the apron. In real life, you can't, but in the sim, you can. So, and that's going to make it a little bit of a contention for trying to let guys back up onto the racetrack. Do you not? We'll have to wait and see. But it looks like we have the grid set for the tonight's festivities. And taking a look at it, Sean Boundy at the top of the board right now, qualified on the pole. He is the points leader as well, so good on him. Bobby Mantle, second place. Heath Snyder going to be starting in third. Scott Wise is in fourth. Fifth, Chad McGinley. Sixth, Jonathan Platt. 7th, Timothy Babcock. 8th, James South. 9th, Faison Sheik. 10th, Justin Levine. 11th place, Matthew Kleinschmidt. 12th, Michael Little. 13th, Mark McFadden. And 14th, Ronald Holmes, I think new driver to the series. He, of course, comes from the Global Racing Truck Series. So glad to see some new faces out here. Of course, some old faces to me, but new faces possibly to the GridVision Super Speedways fan base. But definitely looking forward to it. I think this, track position might be important. What can Sean Boundy do with this track position?
Something you want to look for too. Sean Boundy, currently leading the points. doesn't have a win on the season. That neither does Timothy Babcock, right behind him in second, who's starting all the way back in seventh. Now, Timothy has been very consistent with 7 top 10 runs in 7 starts, but still looking for that first one. Only 2 top 5s would explain why he's not in the lead. But, you know, you have 12, 13, 14 drivers here tonight. It doesn't sound like a lot, but a track like this, you can go 3, even 4 wide. You can have the entire field within 2 or 3 tenths of each other. And one small mistake from a single driver towards front in that pack means destruction from them all. You have one faster pair, which thankfully I think you really want to have on a Super Speedway style track like this. But some of these drivers might use them a little bit early on. You might see drivers taking it easy. But with Super Speedway racing, you really can't predict what you're going to see. Starting up front, Sean Bounty might be a curse. It might be a good thing. You can kind of set the pace, set the race. So being able to take off and have that lead going in turn 1 might not last long at a track like this, but you definitely want to have control when you can. Because there's a lot of moments in a track, in a race like this, where you have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, I think a lot of these drivers, it's all going to be about track awareness for sure, and kind of being able to predict what the other drivers are going to do. Looks like we are rolling right now, getting ready to get all set to get the green flag here. As Sean Bounty. That is such an interesting fact you talked about, or statistic, that the top 2 in points have not won a race. That just really shows what I think the priority is here this season has been all about consistency, all about surviving these races and getting the points. And I think that's what tonight's going to be all about as well, as we're set to do 80 laps. We're following down the backstretch. Sean Bounty, of course, set to lead this thing. Of course, Heath Snyder, always a good super speedway racer. What can he do behind that leader? We'll have to wait and see how this all plays out in this in their next gen machines. Of course, this we haven't seen this next gen car a ton in this series, so I'm curious to see how these guys are going to adapt to it. I know some drivers are really good at it. I know Heath Snyder, definitely a known next gen style driver. But here we go. Of course, Bobby Mantle as well, very well known for the truck. Haven't seen him a lot in this next gen. We're getting ready to find out, though, if he can hang. As the pace car, of course, heads down pit road, and we enter the Geico restart zone. Green flag is out for the first time here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Bobby Mantle with a fantastic start, but he does not have a lot of help. The 31 of Scott Wise does not get going. So bottom line, probably going to be the one that surges ahead because they have the numbers.
Now, Scott Wise started there in 4th and falling back all the way down to 7th or 8th. I raced Scott quite a bit here on the platform, and he's really a known super speedway racer. He'll give you a bump when you need it, and he knows how to take a bump as well. So I would not be surprised to see him up front for most of the night. But Sean Bounty started up front and pretty much has control as he's going to lead the first lap here. He's got some company behind him. That's Heath Snyder started there 3rd, and Chad McGinley trying to make some magic happen. Now Heath Snyder on the outside, taking it side by side. Doesn't have any help there yet, but it's coming. So
he definitely made a big move. What a bold move there for Heath Snyder to jump up in front. Of course, with the 89 of Bobby Mantle. Mantle going to give him some shoves to that Don Wheaton car. They're going to get moving there on that top line. And I know the top line is going to be strong here tonight, but the only thing I'm curious about is how long is it going to last, considering even though this is a super speedway style racetrack, it does present and feature tire wear, I do believe. And some of the questions that the guys were asking before the race began was how were the tires going to wear?
That tire wear is a huge deal. You think super speedway racing is not really, that drastic, but Atlanta, with it only being 1.5 miles, and the corners don't have as much banking to carry you around versus Daytona and Talladega, it really eats up those tires. So you almost have to start lifting a little bit going in the corner, especially coming out. It's real easy to get tight and wash up to the wall and really bend that right front, which is the opposite of what you really want to do. So tire wear, I think, will be a big name of the game. These drivers do have unlimited sets of tires, but you don't want to sit there and go through them because you got them.
Yeah, and especially if you're, out here, green flag racing, if it stays like this, it doesn't matter that you have unlimited sets. We see somebody in the wall. That's Scott Wise tagging the wall there. It looks like he's going to be able to keep going, but he has lost a lot of momentum. And I do believe we saw a lot of last time we were here at Atlanta, a lot of guys hitting that wall. Very easy to do here. One thing about it is the corners at this racetrack are so much more abrupt than you see at Daytona or Talladega. Those are a lot. Oh, we're seeing a little bit of some blocking, maybe some wiggles. I think that's Timothy Babcock starting to lose it. Could we already see the tire wear affecting these drivers now?
Yeah, he got a little bit of bump from behind from Faison Cheeks, but Babcock also got a little bit loose going into turn 3. So shifting also, you don't think about it, but shifting's also kind of a big deal with these races, especially at Atlanta with it being so much smaller than Daytona, and you almost have to lift a little bit. You want to be able to downshift and really get those high revs and get a big run, but can also hurt you. I think that's what Babcock was trying there. He was trying to shift a little bit, kind of experimenting, trying something a little bit new, and didn't work out for him. As they're still side by side for the lead, Heath Snyder on the bottom, Sean Bounty on the top, and especially a big tire eater is coming through this trial over here. You know, Daytona's kind of a bank who carries you a lot throughout the corner, but that front straightaway is flat, flat, flat. That's going to...
No, I definitely agree. We're seeing, you know, a lot of guys, you know, you definitely, I'd say, burn the tires up a lot more through that tryover than you would in other racetracks like Daytona or Talladega. But I'll tell you what, we're starting to see some drivers on that top line get huge, huge runs. As, of course, I do believe we're looking off the back of Sean Boundy as he looks at Bobby Mantle. He jumps down. What a camera angle here. Got to give a big bunch of credit to Austin Darbyshire, our producer, as Bobby Mantle. He's like, okay, you want to go down to the bottom? I'll take that spot, and I'll take the run with the help of James South.
And these drivers really not caring that we're only 8 laps into this one. Still 90% of the race to go. And being on the bottom, we kept talking about tires. Being on the bottom would definitely eat your tires a lot more. Now, if this does go green, I think that you're going to see that start to affect. Kind of have to lift a little bit. This early on, not a huge factor, but about 10, maybe even 15 laps, you'll see guys really start to have to lift and not be able to plan those runs for something like Daytona or Talladega, which makes Atlanta a true, unique super speedway. There's no other track that's really like it. So drivers, if they don't run this track specifically, they're not used to that tire wear, and especially in the next gen where tires are so abrasive, you can really see drivers start to fade. As they're 2-3 wide here through the trial, we talked about moves being made, wrecks happening. So far, no wrecks yet, but we are really close as these drivers are inches apart, and not a whole lot of wiggle room here either to make a mistake.
No, not at all. And we're also seeing a little bit of a breakaway. The top 3 cars have started to drive away. They have about a half a second, about 4/10 of a second, back to Timothy Babcock, who's in 4th place. And one thing that last time we saw, you know, the race cars race this track, I think it was his Xfinity car. And then before that, we saw the Gen 6 out on this track. And in both occasions, tire wear was significant, and you had to kind of save a little bit. Even though you could mash it flat out for, you know, a little bit of time, you would eventually pay the price. You'd pay that Pied Piper. We see double file still. I do believe Jonathan Platt at the moment battling with Bobby Mantle, as well as Mantle trying to hold on with the aid of James South. They were just a few laps ago, Brayton, were up towards the front of the field. Now they've fallen back. I think this might be tire wear.
Yeah, it's very easy to do at tracks like this. You see, you just mentioned Sean Bowdy, Heath Snyder, and Chad McGinley. Chad McGinley won the last race here at Atlanta, the Xfinity cars at Atlanta. Said that, I'm very smart. We're going to roll with it. So Chad McGinley, very fast at this type of track. So looking for another win here. But it's easy kind of, I don't want to say tandem draft. You see the cars behind, you know, if you're side by side, you lose a lot of room. You know, the top 2-3 guys are single file, and then they were side by side behind them. That's how they fell back. If you kind of start working together, you get single file, it's easy to build up a run. As now the final 3 or 4 cars behind that lead pack have finally caught up. That's Babcock with leading the charge with Faison Sheik, Scott Wise, and Justin, who I believe won the first race at Atlanta. So those top 7 have now pulled away. They're in one big pack, and they're about a second in front of like Bobby Mantle and James South. Those guys in 8th and 9th. So Bobby Mantle started second, all the way back outside their lead pack, 8th after 13. Not quite the start he was wanting.
No, definitely not. Bobby Mantle, yeah, like you said, he started, I think he might have hurt his tires a little bit. Some other drivers are hitting their fastest laps of the race. I mean, I've been watching Timothy Babcock. He has been just setting incredibly fast laps as we see a big move there from, I do believe, Timothy Babcock. We talk about how he was setting the fastest laps of the race. Well, he just tried to jump underneath Heath Snyder, was not quite able to get there. As he, of course, battles with Scott Wise. You talked about Wise being one of the drivers that is really good at super speedway racing. He hit the wall a little bit earlier. It does not seem like it is holding him back. With Justin Levine, where did he come? The one is all the way up to the front of the field.
Levine also won last week at Talladega, so he's kind of making some early race moves, trying to set a precedent, lead some laps in this one. But Timothy Babcock, you're looking at times, you see these guys, you go to Daytona and you only lose maybe a mile, 2 miles an hour in the corner, but some of these guys are losing, 5, 6 miles an hour just to show how abrasive the track surface is. So definitely lose a lot of speed. It's hard to plan a run. You don't know where the help's going to be or where it's going to go, and you run the bottom, you run that red line. It's actually hurt your tires, and you might start to get tight. Tight at Superspeedway sounds weird, but a track like this very easy to do. As we ran 16 green flag laps here, and I think tire wear can become a huge deal in just a matter of a couple laps.
I think it's already becoming a huge deal. I think for a second there, we were like, oh, wow, these guys are running the fastest laps of the race. But now look at the lap times, 30.5, 30.6. Some people hitting 30.7s. That is 8/10 of a second off of their fastest laps of the race. So it might even have something to do as well, though, these guys being side by side. Side draft could very well be playing a role. Got to keep in mind, though, I do want to remind everybody that we will have a stage on lap 40 going to 41. Will not be a caution, though, but we will be counting stage points at that moment. So a lot of drivers, even though we're not quite there, are possibly thinking about that as well to try to get as many points as they possibly can, because we've already seen it. Race wins do not get you to the top of the board on this championship hunt.
Yeah, Scott Wise was leading that outside charge for the lead. Now he's got Heath Snyder in front of him, and they have Justin Levine there, third car on the top. Wise running the top, got a little bit loose coming out of turn 4 the last time by. So these rear tires are really starting to take effect. You see guys, you go to Daytona, you go to Talladega, see guys mostly in the smooth line, but a lot of snaking here as tires. It's been the name of the game, talk of the century. Now I believe that's Heath Snyder taking the point to this one. Sean Bounty had such a great start. He's all the way back in 7th, kind of last car in this lead pack. And Bobby Mantle in 2nd. He's now caught up. We talked about run side by side, lose a lot of time. You run single file, you can get your stuff together. And now that second pack that was over a second behind the lead pack has now caught him at just running the bottom and top there in turn 3 and 4. So they're finally back part of the equation. And we have a couple drivers about a second behind those guys: Matthew Klein-Schmidt, James South, Ronald Holmes, and Mark McFadden. They're kind of in their own party, their own zip code, serving their own pizza to each other. Not really part of the main story, but that halfway caution thing's gonna be a big break for these guys. We haven't torn too much equipment up yet. But
no, not at all. It's been really, really clean. I hopefully, knock on wood, it stays that way. But we're tearing up tires. I know that for a fact. And one thing I'm noticing is too, Timothy Babcock. I'm watching him a lot here. That 99 keeps getting loose. He's getting loose on the exit of every corner I've seen thus far. As watch this, he gets loose right there. Look at that. Look at these wiggles he's having. Oh, there goes Heath Snyder down the racetrack. Contact as we're still 3 wide. Chad McGinley down into the inside wall a little bit there. He's trying to save it. My goodness, this could have been a caution. Somehow it wasn't. I think Chad McGinley probably deserved a caution, but unfortunately did not get one, as we're still 3 wide as we take a look back at the replay. You see right here, Scott Wise, just a bad bump to the rear of the 29. And that unfortunately sends Heath Snyder down in, or that was, of course, 29 even cosmetically, but Heath Snyder's running in the 4 in the iRacing service. But of course, we are referring to Heath Snyder. He did go down the track and unfortunately got into Chad McGinley, which sent him down onto the apron. Now McGinley some 5 seconds back from the leaders. They still battle, though, is Sean Bounty, of course, who was the pole sitter. Right now, side by side with Faison Schick.
Scott Wise, we talked about him a little bit ago, just caused that, right? I don't say caused it, but got into the back bumper and sent Heath Snyder flying down the track. So he's now on point, bump drafting, literally neck and neck with Justin Levine. Now he's got Babcock charging up the inside, as we kind of got 2 packs here. First pack is only 2 or 3 tenths in front of that second pack, but they're side by side, and that second pack is gaining quick. You might even see him form a run around the top and just fly by this first pack like they're standing still. But Scott Wise heavy on the defense game right now. Justin Levine trying to make a move. He's looking up by the top. He's looking down low. And these speeds are really starting to fall off. We see him going about 180, 185 or so down the straightaway. And they were doing about 176, 177 in the corners. And now we see some guys all the way down about 175, 174.
There goes Babcock. Babcock sideways in the middle of the track. He's going to go around right in front of somebody. I think that was Michael Little. And the 93 caution is out, as heavy damage on the 99, and this could have very well been a tire failure, as he just lost it all of a sudden. I don't know if this was based on any sort of contact. It could have been possibly off the bumper of Jonathan Platt, but unfortunately, Michael Little paid the price, as well as the 99 of Babcock, both of them with critical damage. Hopefully they can limp themselves back to pit road as we take a look back at this. Yeah, I don't know. This probably wasn't a tire failure, but I think that he possibly moved up the racetrack to possibly go side by side with Heath Snyder and just did not have enough tire left to make that sort of a move.
No, not one bit, especially in racing. You know, when you've run 24 now hard laps on these tires, I wouldn't be surprised if everyone comes down and takes tires. But when you do a sudden move like that, it goes from the bottom, especially to the top, and middle of the corner carrying set speed, it really upsets that rear and makes it real easy to lose. There's not a whole lot of grip up there anyways, right up by the wall. And you go from in the draft having not a whole lot of air to all of a sudden air is just going all over your car and just really upsets it. That what was the main catalyst there for that wreck with Timothy Babcock. Obviously hard to save when you have no tire left.
Yeah,
Fortunate
100%.
series of events for Michael Little.
Yeah, definitely very unfortunate. I think now's a good time. We'll take a quick step away, pay some attention to our sponsors. We'll be right back here when we watch the rest of this race. It's been exciting thus far. Thanks for tuning in to GridVision.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to GridVision. Definitely excited to be here. As of course, my name is Brian Britt. I have Brayton Laster as my co-commentator. Austin Derbyshire down behind the cameras. We're getting ready to go back green here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Of course, Scott Wise led them down into pit road. He leads them off. Everybody taking, I do believe, a 4-tire stop in fuel, ready to get back going here. Now, the fuel window has been projected to be 60 to 65 laps. This makes it to where I do believe these guys can make it to the end on fuel. So be curious to see how this plays out. Green flag is back out in the air. Wise, of course, up through the gears. Sean Bounty with a really good start. Of course, being aided by Bobby Mantle in the 89.
That we talked about in that initial start, as now you got Sean Bounty looking on the outside. Restarting in first isn't necessarily a good thing, as the outside has really formed up. You see Scott Wise doesn't really have anyone to push him versus Sean Bounty, and I believe that's Bobby Mantle on the outside making some magic happen. Scott Wise going to lose the lead on this one. Now falling back in the third, not quite clear to get up in the hole, but he's going to send it to that middle lane, and this is going to really hurt Scott Wise. Might fall back way back, as now he's looking to get split down the middle almost, and that outside line has really formed up a lot better than the inside line did, and that's really going to upset things for Scott Wise and company on the bottom.
Yeah, this is definitely just almost a worst case scenario, I'd say, for Scott Wise. I mean, he started from the lead and quickly fell back into the hornet's nest, and he's in danger, I think. I mean, it's really dangerous to fall back that quickly. So luckily, I think he's up to speed. Could it be even residual damage from earlier when he hit the wall? As we see Sean Bounty, he's starting to fall back as well. Bobby Mantle now in control, of course, working with Chad McGinley. These two known to be a very hard-working pair of drivers on the same team. They've worked very well together in the Global Racing Truck Series, of course, until the last race. But they've definitely been looking really good here tonight. They have linked up, and, of course, they are in control, and I think they're going to want to stay that way as Sean Bounty tries to rebound side by side with Michael Little.
That Chad McGinley we talked about him a little bit ago won the previous race here at Atlanta. Restarted the 8th on the S restart, all the way up in the 2nd in Bobby Mantle's tire track. Sean Bounty now side by side with Michael Little, who was just in that wreck, had nowhere to go inside the top 3 podium position for him. And we do have that comp caution, I believe, at lap 40, so that's going to kind of reset things a little bit. You know, it can go hard. You don't know when that. Oh,
Bobby Mantle sideways in front of the field.
Speaking of going hard,
of Chad McGinley. And I do want to also correct Brayton. There is not going to be a caution for the stage. That is just a we just count that. There's not actually going to be a caution for that. But we have some more important things to unpack, of course. But I just want to make that clear. Bobby Mantle getting turned off the bumper of Chad McGinley in front of the field. This could have been a lot worse for the 89. It was a lot worse for other drivers though involved.
I was talking about, you know, they can kind of push when you don't have that caution coming up, but still, obviously, you know, they got 50 laps to go. I don't think there's any reason to be pushing that hard. They were kind of all stacked up. Michael Little was pushing Chad McGinley in the bound, or to Mantle, I'm sorry. But I don't think there's any reason they should have been pushing that hard, especially so early into a run. Now, the move, I think, to come down to see a lot of cars coming down, Michael Little leading them down. Get fuel, get more tires. You mentioned that fuel window being about 60 laps or so. This should put them in the green for the rest of the race. With Superspeedway racing, we've seen fuel mileage be a big issue. But tires, I would not be surprised if we go 30, 40 laps here, you know, somehow, fingers crossed, knocking on wood, see guys come down and take tires. Obviously, you know, they're going to lose a lot of time doing it. But some guys were, you know, almost a second off in just under 20 laps. So,
yeah,
you know, we start going 2 or 3 seconds, you know, off their quick time versus new tires. You might see some guys gamble a little bit and come down and take some rubber.
Well, I mean, and we even saw that once you got to that 30-lap mark. I mean, which we almost got to. I mean, I think we got it to about lap 24 to 25, and at that moment, we saw these guys didn't have a whole lot left when it came to resources. You know, you couldn't make really crazy moves, otherwise you'd spin out. So I feel like that's going to be a factor. So no, I think tires are definitely mattering quite a bit out here. I mean, a second of fall off, that's pretty big at this style of track. But of course, we wasn't long ago we went green, so I think Scott Wise is making a wise decision to stay out here. I've heard a little bit of wordplay right there. Another driver I think is real hungry, James South. He's up here in second place, of course. He at one point I think was the points leader in this series. I'm sure he's going to be wanting to try to get back there as well. So what is he willing to do?
That James South won a couple weeks ago at Talladega has not been the victory lane since. So some guys, desperation starting to sit in. You know, you want to make up as many points as you can. And considering this whole league is mainly Superspeedway racing, there's a lot you can't control. And you can practice all you want, but unless you know they're going to have help and you can't really control the cars around you, there's so much to not control. So it doesn't matter if, you know, you have 10, 15 great runs. You know, if you don't finish out that season strong, it can really hurt you. So James South try and make the best out of a situation you can't really control. And that's the same story for most of these guys tonight, as lights are off on the pace car. Some guys staying out, some guys electing to come down and get some fuel and rubber. So might see how that kind of intertwines with each other and starts to set in. I don't think it's going to affect them early on, but that extra lap and a half, 2.5 laps might make a big difference.
And we've been seeing, of course, I do believe we've seen 2 cautions thus far based on an incident. And those cautions have involved damage. So I think soon we're going to possibly see some guys not have fast repairs. and that's definitely something we've seen week in and week out here in this series. And that, of course, when you run out of that fast barrier, you're a lot more cautious on the moves you make. So I think some drivers are going to be definitely doing exactly that. I mean, Bobby Mantle just had a pretty sizable hit, of course. Timothy Babcock, he doesn't have, I don't believe, a fast pair anymore. He completely annihilated front end of that race car. Somehow, though, even though after the crashes we've had, we still have 14 drivers on the lead lap. Here we go. Scott Wise, of course, going to be leading the field here to green flag. Pace car getting ready to get out of the way. As here we go, out of turn number 4, preparing to enter the Geico restart zone to start lap 36. And, of course, that'll leave us with 5 laps in this stage. And, of course, like I mentioned before, no caution going to come out, but we will count the points either way. As look at that, aggressive start from Justin Levine. Gives some big pushes to Scott Wise. Can Wise do better on this restart than he has in the past?
And as we were already going to get a caution again for a wreck back in the back.
Oh, my goodness. And I do believe that involving, who is that? Mark McFadden, I do believe. Unfortunate. The 48. I'm wondering how this happened. Looks like a 23, possibly, of Ronald Holmes gets into the rear end of the 48. Of course, he's not able to save it.
And you talk about
look at that one more time, because I don't know what exactly happened. Did Mark McFadden come down to block that lane? We're looking right here on board with Little. And it looks like, I think Ronald Holmes thought he could get underneath McFadden. I think McFadden was kind of slowly coming down, and unfortunately just fighting for real estate. And I feel like if McFadden had covered off that lane quicker, that's one thing about super speedway racing. You got to be predictable, and you can't be indecisive, I think is what the point I'm trying to make. It's, you know, like you see McFadden, he's thinking about going down to the bottom. Then he starts doing it like gradually. And of course, Ronald Holmes kind of comes up as well, tags the 48. But I think this is a lot of indecisiveness as well involved in this crash, as well as just 2 guys going after the same real estate.
That's exactly what I think it is. You know, McFadden kind of running that middle-ish lane. We talked about in the pre-race show, this track's only about 45 feet wide. One of the smallest and thinnest tracks we go to here on iRacing and in the schedule. So not a whole lot of real estate to fight for, and you gotta fight for every single centimeter we got, and obviously just a bad effect of racing there. Michael Little, I think, was the biggest innocent bystander on that. Just came down, he was up front for a little bit in the race, and then came down, got some damage heavy in the Babcock on lap 24, used his fast repair, and got a little bit of front end damage, but only takes a little bit to really hurt your odds in this one. So not too bad for Michael Little, but obviously a damaged front end, and that's not what you want to do when you get up front. It might be great in the draft, but the second you get up front, might be like a cow on a Jeep. So I don't know if you guys know, but cows on a Jeep are not very aerodynamic.
They don't sound very, I mean, I never heard that way to put it before. But I'll tell you one thing as well that you got to keep in mind is we saw recently a new update from iRacing that has changed the damage to the front end. I mean, it's making that front end a lot weaker from what I looked at the notes, where it breaks a lot easier. You know, I know these next gens have in the past been, in a lot of ways, considered to be tanks. Well, that is no longer the case. These cars are very fragile, and if you hit that front end just right, your race is done.
Yeah, Michael Little, you know, it wasn't a huge hit, but definitely some front end damage on him. Even the littlest bit of damage can affect you in a big way, so we'll have to see how that one comes to play out. I think if we get another caution, which I most certainly think we will, I'm not hoping we do, but the way it's played out most of the night, I think he should be able to come down and get it fixed for the most part. It won't really hurt him too much, but not the ideal situation, obviously, for Michael Little. He actually came down pit road and got most of it fixed. I don't think it'll be a huge factor here. Scott Wise still in the lead. You know, he's restarted up front multiple times, and he's kind of, you know, learned, hey, don't do this, don't do that. It's been a big, you know, learning experience. Scott Wise is, you know, not a series regular, only ran 1 race so far this season. And, you know, when you run, you know, all season long, like guys like James South, like guys like Sean Bounty, like guys like Timothy Babcock, you learn, you know, who gives and who takes. You know, if I shove it, you know, my nose in this guys, left quarter panels, he's going to give me room, and he's going to cut me off. And not really racing with the same guys week in and week out, it's hard to learn. And, some of the guys have said racing in the leagues against each other, but not with everyone here tonight. So learning the field.
Pace car lights are out. Time to get this thing underway. Of course, Scott Wise, once again, going to be starting up top of the board for this restart. Of course, James South sits in second place right now. Sean Bounty's in third. Faison Sheik in fourth place. Chad McGinley, of course, in fifth. And, of course, Bobby Mantle's had quite a recovery. He's up to seventh place. Ronald Holmes, who was just involved in that incident, he's in sixth right now. As we enter, of course, the middle of 3 and 4. Pace car is getting ready to drop out of the way here. And it looks like I think we're going to have us a one-lap shootout for the stage here. So this could provoke quite a bit, I'd say, of intensity. But, of course, you do want to make it past this stage. So hopefully these drivers, of course, keep that in mind. As the green flag is out, Scott Wise goes at the last possible moment to catch these guys off guard. Does not catch James South off guard, though. Very good start for the 21. But, unfortunately, South does not have any hope, does not have any help. Can he possibly get some aid? And it looks like not. They all leave him hanging on the top.
Scott Wise did that perfect. I just talked about it being a big learning experience. He learned not to jump that start, actually lean back quite a bit, and have help right off the bat in turn 1. And he should get the stage win, but it doesn't really matter to him as he's not points racing. Now they're going to get a little bumper love. Sean Bowdy look on the outside with a huge run, trying to steal the stage here. Faison Sheik with a little bit of help too, going to get in third, but just barely. So wow. Sean Bounty to the point with a huge run off of turn 4. We talked about stage points kind of being a big deal. Someone like Scott Wise that isn't running for points, he could care less. I hate to say it that way, but he's looking at the bigger picture, and that's a checkered flag in his, future. But now look on the outside of Bounty doing the same move that he just did to him, and now we have the whole field kind of under a blanket, 2x2, way on back. So we're expecting some good racing here on out.
And this is why Sean Bounty's the points leader. I mean, he pounced when he knew he needed to. I mean, and that's what gives you that edge. And he, of course, just built up even more of a gap there back to second place in the points, Timothy Babcock. I mean, Timothy Babcock he's all the way back in 14th. I don't think he gained many stage points, if any, at that stage end right there. Scott Wise, though, back up to the lead. Sean Bounty, of course, falls back to third. James South, of course, is in second place. He did get some stage points there. Could he possibly jump up and take second away from Babcock as a result of that stage?
Now, Sean Bounty has scored 59 bonus points this season. That's the most out of any driver by over 10 or so. And not a whole lot of drivers are even within 20 bonus points of him. So Bounty's showing why he's a point leader, just put it perfectly there. And now if I'm Sean Bounty, I want to be there at the end. I don't want to be like Michael Little, who's already used his fast appearance. He doesn't really have any regard for that second car on the outside in that dark blue Sharp 93 machine. So making some magic work on the outside. But if you're in one more wreck and you're Michael Little, you're done for that. You have no hopes whatsoever. That could really hurt your run and your ambitions for this one. So I believe Michael Little is about the only one that's really used a faster pair Babcock. Babcock. Obviously, I believe he used one way back on that 24 caution. Some guys like McFadden Holmes maybe a little bit. But let's talk about him. To the point, Michael Little.
How about to say, we were just talking about him, he doesn't have a fast career. He's not driving like he does. He's driving like he's got a armored car out here. He's driving like, I can take some risks, and he's definitely been taking them. And those risks, of course, have brought him to lead for right now, as we, of course, are getting ready to start lap 46. We're going down the backstretch. Scott Wise driving in underneath the 93. As we go 3 wide, James South taking the run on the top here.
No one is really giving any regard to the other driver. Michael Little is stuck in the middle now through the tricky tri-oval. You see a lot of accidents happen here in these races. Now they're almost 3 wide. They are 3 wide for third going into turn 1 through 2. Scott Wise to the point, but James South trying to make up some lost ground. Big run on the outside of Scott Wise, looking to take the point going into turn 3 as his field files in this 2x2 race. And Scott Wise going to lose the lead in this one. But we've seen so many passes on the left. I don't think losing a lead in one corner really affects you a whole lot. I mean, you can just gain a huge run in the next corner. And I mean, Scott Wise was 5th or 6th one lap and leading the whole thing by 2 or 3 car lengths to the next corner, basically. So runs are the name of the game, it seems, tonight. But tire wear starting to become a part of this story, I feel like, in the near future.
No, I think it definitely will. What I find really interesting is Michael Little spent A minute 23 down pit lane. He spent almost a minute in his pit box repairing that race car on that last caution. Started further back than probably a lot of these drivers and drove his way up to now the lead. I mean, this is just insane to see how fast this 93 is. He is definitely knowing exactly when to take these runs. But James South jumps down in front of the 93 as now you give Justin Levine the lead of the top line. But nope, looks like they said, no, we're not going to give that one machine any room to make any moves. And of course, you know Levine, he is hungry to get to the lead.
So do stand corrected Michael Little, to talk to my pit road reporter, aka myself, has not taken a fast car, a ton of front end damage, but he's come down, Nick, we talked about a minute plus pit stops every single caution, which we've had 3 so far, and gotten damage repaired. So he still has his fast repair. Obviously, he's been involved in literally every single caution tonight, but really no regards that, as now he's pushing James South to the lead, but still has his fast repair, Michael Little.
I say that's smart. I mean, keep that thing, and when you absolutely really need it, you'll have it, and he might need it very soon. Just considering, I mean, the further we get along in this race, the more and more hectic and exciting it's going to get. As here comes Scott Wise, he says, "Hey, it's time for me to take that lead back." He jumps up in front of Michael Little. Faison Sheik up in the battle. We haven't talked a whole lot about the 15, but he's been one of the aggressive drivers this season, and here we go. Aggression is his middle name. He drives underneath James South and puts him 3 wide. Justin Levine now side by side with Michael Little for second.
Justin Levine trying to make some magic happen. We talked about him won the first race of the season at Atlanta, this very track, and now he also won last weekend at Talladega. I believe the only double time winner this season. Try and go 2 in a row. A little bit bumper love. That's Michael Little getting a big push from James South on the top there. As Scott Wise looking to have a pretty decent lead down the backstretch, and just like that, a matter of seconds, not even that big gap is closed. Obviously, being out front doesn't mean you're safe by any means. As Justin Levine try and make some magic happen, huge run on the inside, and I think tires are going to become a huge problem here if they're not already. Especially through the trial, it's real easy to get tight. Talked about it, way back early in the run. But it's flat versus that 28 degrees of banking in the corner, which isn't even a whole lot for super speedway, and that's where we're going to see a lot of moves, magic, and actions happening. So my personal favorite is trying to get a big run off of turn 4 and then dicing up the middle, because typically you see guys below that red line on the apron and guys kind of up by the wall, but they leave the middle open quite a bit in the middle of the pack. Kind of see there's a good lane, and if you want to shove someone 3 wide and pick up a spot 2 going to turn 1, it's real easy to do, especially as tires start to wear.
Speaking of that, we are starting to see tires wearing on this racetrack right now. Last time by Scott Wise, 30.144. And that's one of the faster laps out here, as well as Michael Little. He's driving up to Justin Levine. Levine doing a heck of a job pushing to 31. He's pretty much connected with the bumper through the corner as they exit turn 4 onto the tri-oval or quad-oval. We do see some battling going on. Faison Sheik, of course, battling with Bobby Mantle for that 5th place position, as well as Jonathan Platt sits right there behind, I do believe, on that top line. Oh, Platt getting a little bit tight, I do believe, has to get out of the gas. And, of course, that slows up Heath Snyder.
Jonathan Platt, pretty consistent here. Got second last time we were here at Atlanta in the Xfinity car. So, knows this track in and out. Not really unused to it due to the tire wear. But we seem to have a 10-car breakaway, your top 10, all within half a second.
We saw some contact with the wall there. Bobby Mantle. Pretty hefty hit for the 89 there. He's going to fall all the way back to 10th. And it looks like, I think it's just cosmetic. Well, I really don't even see anything, but it looked like it was a dramatic hit. But I think he's okay. Well, you can see it a little bit more possibly on the rear. You see the scuff. But Scott Wise out front. 3 wide as Michael Little is in the middle. Of course, James South trying to recover his positions.
We talked about how much time to lose. Michael Little, for example, is about 10 to 15 miles an hour slower than like Scott Wise and Justin Levine, who's single file tandem drafting. And these guys are all 2 or 3 wide, and they're losing a ton of time. That's really letting like Scott and Justin get a decent gap to the next cars in front.
Yeah.
We're going to have action for the lead. Levine going spin Wise off of turn 4. Scott Wise through the grass, mowing it for free. The caregivers, caretakers, ground takers love him, but not the move Scott Wise wanted. We're going to see a replay here.
Yeah, wow. You see right there, I think they were just kind of weren't able to predict each other. You see Levine just gets into the rear end of the 31, and I just think the 31 was already kind of unsettled in the corner.
I mean, see him go through the grass. He's basically kept hammering down. The groundkeepers love him taking care of that grass, and he's doing their job for him. But he's going to fall all the way back in the 10th, almost, 3, 4, 5 seconds behind your leader. So not the move, obviously, that Scott Wise wanted to happen. It was working for them. I mean, they were 3, 4 tenths in front of,
Yeah.
third and fourth place, but, at what consequence? Obviously, Scott Wise now no longer in this equation. Now, I just mentioned it, and then we had the accident happen. 9 cars all in the lead pack. You see Scott Wise, their last car, or second last car on the lead lap. But between him and the lead pack, you have a 3-car breakaway. I don't really call it breakaway. It's more like a fall away. That's Matthew Kleinschmidt, Timothy Babcock, who we've talked quite a bit about tonight, and Ronald Holmes, all kind of single file, about a second and a half to 2 seconds off their leaders and a second off that lead pack. Because your top 9 cars, you see them there, are all within half a second of each other. I think that's going to let Matthew Kleinschmidt and company kind of make some room, as they're not really given any room at all.
That was definitely very, very close. I think Sean Boundy kind of got pushed up a little bit there and almost got into Chad McGinley. Luckily, they were able to keep it kind of straight. But still 3 wide. James South in the middle, making a big run. Definitely looking. I think they're looking for a place to make a caution here, and I think they're going to find it here if they keep looking.
Now, we've gone about 20 or so laps on these tires, and actually even more than that. Some guys stayed out that last caution. There's only 3 or 4 laps, if even that, green flag racing. So some guys might even put in 22, 23 laps of hard green flag racing on the tires. And it's not like anyone's been taking it easy. It's been all out, gas out, this entire run. So I think tire wear is going to become a huge issue. 24 laps was that first green flag run to start the race. The tire wear starting to become a big factor, I think, as they kind of spread out a little bit. It's not 2 or 3 wide. See him almost single file. You gotta go all the way back to the battle for 5th and 6th. That's Chad McGinley and James South, the first cars side by side there. Just mentioned battle for 5th. But everyone's kind of single file, playing nice for the most part. Obviously, that can change in a matter of seconds, but I don't think guys are expecting a caution, and that's why some of them have kind of backed off and not, shoving it in that hole every time they see one, and taking it fairly easy as we are under 20 laps to go, hopefully, in this one.
Yeah, definitely flying right on by this race. Of course, coming up to 18 to go. Michael Little, of course, at the head of the field right now, in control. Of course, he has been involved in a lot of the accidents tonight, but fortunately for him, looks like he is in possibly a good position to maybe come home with a victory here tonight. Faison Sheik, of course, going to be biding his time. Most of the time, when you're in the lead right now, you might not be in the lead at the end. So that's going to be one of the keys, of course, of Super Speedway racing. A little bit of a wiggle there off of turn 2. As here comes Sean Boundy. Michael Little comes up to try to block that run. And Boundy is going to say, nope, I'm going to go ahead and weave myself right underneath you.
I used a big run. He got there through the corner and took it. With no help, really. I think that's part of the tire where being up in the top is not as much grip as the bottom. They're 3 wide for 3rd right behind him. That's Faison Sheik, Chad McGinley, and James South. 3 wide. And James South stuck up by the wall. Faison Sheik going below the red line, going to lose a couple spots on this one. That's the battle for the lead, now heating up once again. Michael Lear took it down the backstretch, but now he's got McGinley on his inside. James South to the back bumper, a little bit of Michael Little trying to push him across the line. It might not be physically pushing him, but there is an air bubble there. You just can't see it because it's air. Speaking of air, So, yeah. That virtual bubble obviously helps a lot. It's not as much help as, a physical push and making contact bumper to bumper, but it does help quite a bit here on these super speedways. It's now a huge bump. Speaking of physical contact from Bobby Mantle. Bobby Mantle we haven't talked about a whole lot recently. Talked about him quite a bit early on, trying to make a name for himself in the winding stages of this one.
Yeah, I think he's already made a name for himself, but I think he's trying to recover that name. As he blinks, oh no! A little bit of technical issues for Bobby Mantle as he runs in that 4th place position. Some wiggling going on because Michael Little, of course, under a tremendous amount of pressure from James South, as well as Chad McGinley giving some really good bumps to the back end of the 93. Hopefully Bobby stays solid, but definitely when I say he's already made a name for himself, was one of the best drivers we ever seen in the Global Racing Truck Series. Man, he was a shoe-in, I'd say, for the championship. And unfortunately, that, of course, did not go his way. But really got to say, I admire Bobby Mansell so much with the grace that he showed, of course, after all of that had went down. And he's showing a lot of patience as well here tonight.
Then you want to talk about points, obviously, battles all throughout. Sean Bounty with the points lead, but the battle from first to second is 38 points. Sean Bounty, Timothy Babcock. Then from second to eighth, which is Jonathan Platt, only 45 points separate that entire second to eighth place run. So if they're 3 wide, obviously no one really caring to make it to the finish, as the things are heating up on the track. Fast
Yeah, I don't
pairs
think they
are
do,
going
do
to be few.
They don't want to make it to the end. That's what
No.
it seems like. As Bobby Mansell making a big run through the middle line, of course, weaved. Oh, Michael Little sideways. Bobby Mansell sideways, and they somehow keep it going straight. Can they keep it going south? Really loose. He saves it.
Michael
And
Little
then somehow, green flag still going.
Yeah, that was incredible wheeling and dealing there. Michael Little got shoved a little bit, went below the apron, and the slightest mistake like that can be catastrophic. And the fact we didn't take out the entire field and their grandmas in that one is honestly astounding. They're going to see a replay here.
Taking a look back at this, you'll see Michael Little, of course, going sideways right here. Chad McGinley, just a little bit of a bump on the entrance to the corner. You see McGinley tries to avoid Little, of course, tries to give him a chance to kind of save the vehicle. I mean, there was multiple moments right here in Brayton that could have went wrong. Oh, a bunch of moments at the same time that could have. I mean, there was like 3 moments right there where we could have saw a caution.
I would have bet $22 million in damage in that wreck right there had you gone to the point where Michael Little was sideways on the apron. I would have bet every dollar in my savings account, which isn't much, to spend a lot on pizza, that it would have wrecked there. So I'm honestly astonished. And James South comes out on top. Michael Little, no hesitation at all, gets back up front, second place.
Oh, big problems, and now this one is going to cause a caution. Sean Bounty involved, Bobby Mansell into the outside wall. And this is, of course, going to provoke, I do believe, a less than probably maybe a 5-lap shootout. As we take a look back at this, you see Bobby Mansell, of course, being pushed by Faison Sheik. A little bit of a bump there from Heath Snyder. Looks like Sheik turns Mansell up into Bounty. Bounty, nothing he could have really done in this whole situation. Justin Levine as well was caught in the crossfire.
So
Wow.
if we didn't use faster pairs yet, we're definitely going to use them now. Or that, or a lot of duct tape and super glue.
100%. We're going to take another look back at it right here. As we see, of course, the 15. This gets into, of course, the rear of the 89 at just the wrong time. And Bobby Mansell, of course, paying the price, as well as, you know, of course, what we saw as well, some other drivers. Sean Bounty started on the pole. He's going to pay probably the most significant price in this situation. Nothing he could have done here. He did nothing wrong. Just, I'm sure I wouldn't even mind seeing it from the 34's perspective, but maybe
no warning whatsoever.
Yeah, he didn't have any. There was no visual cue at all that this was happening below him. As we take a look through the 34's eyes, and you'll see right here, just all of a sudden, there's an 89 in front of him now. Right there, boom. Like, there's no warning. But, of course, we kind of unpacked that as much as we could. I think now's a good time. We'll take a quick step away, pay some attention to our sponsors. We'll be right back.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to GridVision's coverage of the GridVision Superspeedways series. Of course, at the moment, Michael Little is out there in the lead. Of course, pace car lights getting ready to, or should I say, pace car getting ready to turn down pit road. We're going to have ourselves, I do believe, a 6-lap shootout. Definitely appreciate everybody out there joining us as we get ready to exit turn number 4. But it has been quite the race so far. We definitely would love to see you in our series here. Of course, I do believe we have some links below in the description. If you'd like to join, definitely reach out to us. Of course, here we go. Pace car down pit road as we enter the Geico restart zone. Green flag back out in the air here at Atlanta. Good start from, of course, the 21 of James South. Wow. I almost feel like he went before the 93. What a great start for the 21.
And some too, but research have seen it all night long. Having a great restart doesn't mean they're going to have a great run. As Michael Little kind of got the short end of the stick. It looked like he was going to get some help from Sean Bounty. If he did, he would have slingshotted past James South. But now Sean Bounty to the top. Just uses fast repair. A lot of these guys, page on streak, Sean Bounty came down, took their fast repairs. So obviously not quite the runs they're not trying to have, as ending up in the DNF dumpster. But James South to the point with under 5 laps to go. Kind of out of nowhere, Michael Little still sitting on the bottom. 3 wide, they're going to have a wreck.
Oh, big problems.
Pedron Cheek still saving it. Everyone's going to keep it straight for the most part.
Wow, I'm surprised. How did we keep that green? I mean, that was a catastrophe waiting to happen. I could have swore we were going to have a bunch of broken race cars, but it looks like these guys had some pretty good heads on their shoulders. As we take another look back at this, see, I do believe it all starts, I think, right around here. I think the 89 pushes the 15 around. 15, unfortunately, I think gets a little unsettled, comes down the racetrack across Heath Snyder. And that could have definitely been terrible. But one thing it did do is split up the pack quite a bit. As you can see, almost a 2-second gap between 4th and 5th right now.
Yeah, Bobby Mantle, one of those drivers we just talked about, was also in that lap 31 wreck, uses fast repair. As we have under 3 laps to go, James South still on point, Sean Bounty behind him, Michael Little, 3 cars and company in a line, but it's a 4-car breakaway.
I'm surprised Sean Bounty's still back in this. I mean, we saw him with a big accident earlier. Luckily, he had that fast repair left as we come to 2 laps to go. I was kind of feeling sorry for Bounty, but it looks like Bounty's got it all under control. But then again, he is, I think, surrounded by teammates here. As you can see, all those GB logos means those guys are all friends and will work together.
Now this top 4 breakaway, 2 seconds to the next car, which is Justin Levine and company. Big pack way behind him, but there's no hope of catching him as we're inside 3 miles to go. But Matthew Kleinschmidt, driver we haven't talked about all night, in a prime position to put himself in victory lane here, had quite a few strong runs, a 2nd and a 3rd, I do believe, at the previous Atlanta races. With Kleinschmidt in 4th car, last car in the lead pack here. Maybe try and slingshot as James South getting 1 lap to go.
White flag is out, presented by Reaper Speed Lab. As James South, can he make it to the end? Most of the moves that are done at Superspeedways are done out of turn 4, and we're coming up quickly to it as we file down the backstretch here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. When does Sean Bounty make the move? Does Michael Little make a move? Here comes Little. He moves up to the top. Does Kleinschmidt go with him? When does Bounty shoot underneath? Here he goes to the inside. This is going to be a barn burner. I think South is going to get it just barely. James South, your winner. What a
Woo!
finish. Very close finish. 100th, I do believe, between first and second right there. So we're going to take a look as Sean Bounty had timed it perfectly, but just not perfect enough.
I think he's going to hair here team. James South kind of wiggles up, and Bounty takes advantage of it coming off the turn 4, shoves it down on the bottom. If he went maybe a little bit lower, side draft a little bit more, they're going to wreck for third. Michael Little and Matthew Kleinschmidt on the grass.
Well, I mean, at least they were sideways going across the start-finish line. That's a good thing because it could have been sideways before the start-finish line.
Between Michael
James
Little and
South,
Scott Wise, they've mowed pretty much the entire infield tonight.
Yeah, they definitely have. They're, like you said, the caretakers, the groundkeepers, going to be loving that as we see James South doing quite a burnout out here. And one thing that's kind of interesting about this, Sean Bounty still has yet to win a race in this series, but he will remain the points leader, which is just shocking that that statistic is continued here after tonight's race. Of course, let's take a look at the final point standings here, or should I say the final results. James South, your winner. Sean Bounty, of course, going to come home in second place after starting on the pole. Michael Little finishes in third. Matthew Kleinschmidt in fourth. Justin Levine in fifth. Bobby Mansell sixth. Seventh, Heath Snyder. Eighth, Mark McFadden. Ninth, Scott Wise. 10th, Timothy Babcock. 11th, McGinley. 12th, Sheik. 13th, Holmes. And 14th, Platt. With that, we'll take a brief step away one more time, and we'll come back and we'll talk to our top 3 finishers. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to GridVision's coverage of the GridVision Superspeedway series. Of course, we're going to be go ahead and getting our post-race show started, where we're going to go ahead and talk to Michael Little. Michael Little, do you read me?
Yes, sir.
Definitely great finish for you tonight. I know it was kind of a rough day for you in a lot of ways, or should I say night, considering you were involved in a lot of the crashes. And, of course, you know, I wouldn't say they were your fault or anything like that, but you definitely had to work through a lot of trials, I'd say, here. And you also were smart enough not to use that fashion period early, even though you probably might have should have, but you were able to get that damage kind of fixed on in pit road. Walk us through how tonight felt for you.
Started off pretty rough, to be honest with you. Feel like the first 3 or 4 cautions, nothing I could do. I was just in the middle of it. You know, luckily with the damage model, it just kind of picked away at it and got it back to being 0 seconds of repair, and it was good to go, and just wanted to stay up front at that point.
Well, you definitely did a good job of that. It seemed like you had a really good race car that could stay up front for sure. So what was, you think, the key to maintaining that track position and being successful here tonight?
Timing the runs and kind of figuring out who you could work with and trust being around. I know there's a points thing going on, and I haven't been kind of involved in all that, so I was trying to stay out of it, but at the same time, I'm here to win races too, so want to be up front when I could, and at the end, I just couldn't really get a good run on the last lap, so let those two kind of duel it out, and Matt and I kind of had our little run at the end there too.
It definitely seemed like a fun little run there. I know you finished sideways, I do believe, crossing the start-finish line, but you still were able to get third over him. You started in 12th, which I think you were the biggest mover here this evening. So definitely congratulations on that. Next week, we're going to be heading to Daytona, I do believe, in the Xfinity car, if I'm not mistaken. How are you feeling about that? How do you like the Xfinity car?
I like it. I think it's definitely a more of a handful. You got to be more careful with the damage, though. You can't just be a wrecking ball like we have been tonight. So it's going to be one of those things where you just got to keep it straight and keep it going and watch out for each other.
100%. Well, we definitely appreciate your time, Michael. Who can we give a shout out to while we have you up here?
Definitely you guys, GridVision, putting it on. I'm just kind of doing it for fun, so gives my Mondays a little excitement. And First Coast Fleet Services for sponsoring this league, and definitely happy for James to get that W in the midst of this whole points battle thing for him.
100%. Well, thanks for your time, Mike, and you have yourself a great night, brother.
You as well.
Alrighty, that was Michael Little, driver of the 93 machine. Definitely a fantastic performance there for him. Next up, we're going to be having our points leader and second place finisher, Sean Boundy, join us. Of course, Brayton has got him right here.
Sean, you came into the night the points leader and looked to be another perfect night. You were up front most of the night till lap 71, 72-ish. 5 minutes comes flying across your hood. How would you say it affected your night on that point? You still came back though and 4 or 5 lap shootout and finished second, but really worried you wouldn't be able to get back up to the front after basically, I don't want to say dominated, but you were in the top 5 almost the entire night.
It didn't really affect me too much. When the incident happened, the only thing I was worried about was making sure the engine was didn't expire. Because if it did, then I'd go laps down and the race was over. But nursed it home and barely made it to my pits. Kept my fast repair and got it fixed and just out, with everybody else. It was just fortunate that I could get back to pit road and be in my grid spacing, so that way I wasn't so far behind the field. Sometimes when your engine's about to expire, you can't catch the field and you just start in the very back. But yeah, ran up front a little bit and I really didn't like it because it was just killing my tires, and kept trying to run third, fourth car in line on the outside and just save as much as I could. And the second half of that second run, it was a lot better. A couple times I wanted to see how quickly I can get to the front, and then when I did, I just backed it back down and found my place in line again. Yeah, the incident was unfortunate, but it didn't really hurt me.
So, like I mentioned earlier, came into the night the points leader over Timothy Babcock. Made up quite a bit of ground on him as he finished all the way back in 10th. James South made up a little ground, but not much, as you went to go ahead and talk about that stage win that you basically stole on lap 40. Made a fantastic move around Scott Wise. And like you just said, you ran third or fourth, but only when you needed to. Like, you made a fantastic move, you timed it perfectly, stole that stage, and then basically settled right back in that third or fourth spot.
Yeah, you guys saw it. Me and the guys were talking about it and trying to figure out how we can get everybody going. Nobody really got going behind me in row 3, really, and I think the 21 still had a little front nose damage at the time. But 21 did get going and waited to the very last second to get up and get Wise out of the way, and barely get that stage win. Almost got turned in turn 4 in the process, but we held on to it, and there was another major wreck where I basically had to Ross Chastain it just to stay out of the wreck out of turn 4, and another incident before the big one. But yeah, we had a fun night. It was a great battle, and just going through the season as consistent as we can.
Fantastic. And like I just mentioned, points leader, still looking for that first win. Don't go ahead and maybe give us some ideas of where to thinking that first win might finally come, and give us a list of anybody you'd like to thank too.
Well, I mean, it takes a lot of help with these, and there's a couple strong teams in there that run throughout the end, and they do a good job. I got to commend some of these guys on these teams for really working together. And yeah, I'm kind of just a kind of oddball in the field that found some guys to run with, and it's been really fun. I don't actually recall what their team name is. I ought to ask them about that, but yeah, it's been great racing with those guys. And the wins are fun, but I've always been more of a consistency kind of person. Run a long season, kind of old school NASCAR mentality, just top 3s, top 4s, and eventually it adds up that way.
Fantastic run once again tonight. Sean Bowden, your second place finisher, started on the pole, but still going to be the points leader leaving Atlanta.
Yep, thank you guys. You guys put on a fantastic broadcast. Congrats to James South for winning that. Once the field kind of piled up behind us, I just said, I told him, just run your line. We got a long way to go. Don't worry about me, because if he starts blocking me 4 laps before the final flag, they'll catch up again. And just had to wait till turn 4, and we all did a fantastic job going to the end, and hope you guys had fun.
Oh, we had a blast. Don't you worry.
Thank you, guys.
Alrighty, that was Sean Boundy. Of course, finishing in second place. Fantastic job to him. Of course, I do believe he's going to exit this race as the continue to be the points leader. But James South, what a run for you, man. Really good points night for you as well. You come home with a win. You're able to get some stage points. How you feeling, James?
All right. I had to make back those negative 10 points that I got from some whatever penalty from last weekend. But, you know, W's nice. And some stage points. I don't know where I finished at the stage, but I'm just slowly trying to chip away Bounty's lead.
Well, you definitely did what it took here to make that happen here tonight. Of course, how did you defend that run from Bounty? It seemed like he was trying to make a run on the inside on you. You were able to hold him off, though, by just 100th.
I know it was like 2 laps ago. He told me just to run my line, but, you know, in the back of my mind, I was like, oh, it's a setup. So I just thought, still trying to be protective of what it was, and we had all that room on the inside of the quad just for him to cut down. I had a feeling that's what he was going to do, because once I started coming off of 4 a little bit, he was still pinned down, so I just changed my mind and kept her pinned down. But I mean, 1/1000th, he said. That's another close finish.
100. It was 1/100th, I should say. It's not 1,000th. I know we've seen one of those before, but it wasn't that close.
Dega.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that was a 5-wide finish from what I recall.
Yes,
but definitely a great job to you, James. Of course, I think Brayton had told me during the commercial break that your last race at Atlanta in this series was 9th, if I'm not mistaken. So, I mean, you definitely won up that quite a bit. I mean, what did you do differently? What was the mindset different? What was the different mindset here tonight?
For starters, different setup. So kudos to whatever setup is in this one tonight. It was stable, was able to make runs, and was able just to hold a steady line. I mean, all of our runs were pretty much on the outside for you just to pull the guy on the inside and maintain, you know, the dominant position on the high side. So that was my strategy the whole entire race. But definitely the setup was different from the last one to this one.
Well, definitely great job. But James, next week we're going to be heading to Daytona for the Xfinity car. I know that's been kind of a hard car to handle. What are you feeling like that? I mean, do you feel confident at that track in that car?
Yeah. I mean, it's Daytona. Everybody should be able to hold a line at Daytona, right? So, but there's still that factor.
You're giving guys too much credit.
There's still that factor. Yeah, there's still that what if. But we'll see. We'll see come next Monday when we roll off the trailer.
It's been some good racing, though, James. Congratulations on the win. Who can we give a shout out to?
To you guys for hosting every week. The GridVision Superspeedways, First Coast Fleet Services for sponsoring the season, and to all my fans and the chat. You know, yes, this is Cinderella's story. I'll see you next Monday. Show up.
All right, James. Well, thanks for your time, man, and congratulations once again.
Thank you.
All right, that was James South, driver of the 21 machine, comes home with a victory. Now, he's gotten multiple this season, so he's definitely getting hot right now, Brayton. You could tell he's hot as well, you know, to prove, I think, that the tractor's wrong. And you love to see it. I mean, it makes for good TV for us, wouldn't you say?
That was a fantastic show. I mean, James South, you mentioned trying to recover from that points penalty, dip back to third. And, you know, Daytona next week, and, you know, it's such a tricky track Atlanta is. And going to Daytona, while you might, you know, be like, oh, Daytona, it's going to be a wreck fest, such a sigh of relief for most of these drivers, knowing that they're going to have a lot more wiggle room, you know, for mistakes. And not too many big ones tonight. Our biggest wreck was only 5 cars on lap 71 there towards the end. So not, you know, any big field records that took out, you know, over half the field. Yeah. But yeah, definitely an exciting race though tonight.
No, yeah, I mean, and everybody finished on the lead lap, so definitely great. Of course, let's take a look, move on to, of course, what we have in the future of this week. Tomorrow night, we're going to be going championship or champion power equipment truck series racing, I should say, at Homestead Miami Speedway. Can't wait to see what that looks like. Hopefully, me and Austin Edstrom will be on the call. Of course, Thursday, we'll see the SSRL Truck Series, of course, at Bristol, the last great Coliseum. That is the super speedway of short tracks, and I know that's going to be an awesome one. Of course, Saturday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we're going to see the Turkey Trot at the Glen. There's going to be a little bit of some drinking and some road course racing, so definitely sounds like a combination that you don't want to miss. Sunday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we're going to see the North Wilkesboro race there for the RGR Kalu Glass Cup Xfinity Series, so definitely going to be cool to see that for sure. And then we'll be pretty much cycling it right on back around, and we'll see some Daytona Xfinity Series with GridVision Superspeedways. But definitely appreciate everybody out there tuning in. Make sure you, if you like what you see for this series, we'd love to see you in competition here. We'd love to call your name for sure. So make sure you click any the links that we have in the descriptions to reach out to us on social media. Look us up in the league directory to apply. We'd love to have you. But with that brings us to the conclusion of tonight's broadcast of the GridVision Superspeedways series at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Congratulations to James South for picking up the win, and thanks to everybody that tuned in tonight. I want to thank my broadcast partner, of course, Brayton Laster, for helping out tonight. Definitely appreciate it. I think this was our second call together, and it definitely went well. Absolute blast and pleasure to call with you. Of course, always a pleasure to have our producer, Austin Derbyshire, down behind the cameras. Also want to thank anyone else that's involved with the GridVision crew. My name's Brian Britt, and we'll see you next time.